everybody, and thank you for joining me today. So moved my frame over again and getting very close to that far right edge. Yeah, this is line 510 here, and the whole thing is 550 stitches wide. So to give you an idea of how close. Yeah, like I said, I won't finish it this month, but made pretty good progress, and actually I may reach 78% this month because that's less than 300 stitches away. So yeah, we'll see. That'd be cool if it was. I always like when I go manage more than I expected. I am almost past 9,000 for this month, so that's a pretty good number. Usually I manage around 8, but like I said, I'm taking a new job soon, so I will be adjusting that down to about 6 is my estimate, as that will take away some stitching time. I'll be working 2.5 days a week, so. Okay. I am not starting at 0 today. As you can see, I'm already at 200. Yeah, I did a bunch this morning while I was waiting for conditions to be right to film, and I figured stopping on a nice even number there is a good idea. It makes it really easy to know exactly how many I did. Yeah, I was at, I think, 180 something, and I thought, I might as well do a few more and bring that to a even number, because I can try to hold a number like, 177 in my head or something, but I probably won't be very successful at it. Yeah, I think my brain is full of other numbers. I was saying to my friend the other day, I can still remember, my first locker combination from grade 8 way back in 1994 or something. But yeah, darned if I can remember something that I actually need now. Yeah, or I can remember a friend's landline number back from the mid-90s, which of course she doesn't even have that number anymore, but yeah, it's still in there. Oh, I think maybe it's because when you learn it younger, it sticks, right? And then as you get older, there's less room in there. Yeah, and it's kind of like Inside Out, they did one where they were trying to vacuum out, clean out old unnecessary memories, but the gum jingle is still there. No matter how many times they try to get rid of it, it comes back, which is pretty much how it works. Yeah, the most annoying earworms get stuck in your head forever. So not working diagonal anymore. It's a little bit of a funny shape right now. There's sort of, I think, a flower petal shaped like this, and then one that's a bit here because there's going to be a little bit more of another feather there, and then the rest is flowers from what I saw looking at the mock-up. But as usual, I will just be growing out from established stitches. My thumb was too fat to select that accurately. Went through recently and changed all the colors in my working tray over because I've finished up most of the feathers in this area. So those colors, the oranges and the reds, won't be used again for a while. Yeah, I will be starting the 8th pass next month, and it will be more of this purple flower and the fence post that I will be working on. And the female bird will get completed in the next pass. There's just the very end of her tail is in that pass. That will be exciting. So I said 6,000 a month will be my new estimate, but we will see once I actually start the job. I was saying, I think in the last video, it kind of fell into my lap. Yeah, at my doctor's office, they asked if I would be interested in just a couple days a week, and I thought, why not? It's a mat leave position, but they said they may keep me on afterwards. It sort of depends how things work out. So, and I said, well, I'll try it. If I really hate it, I can quit. But they did a little bit of training, and I was telling them it seems easier than the previous couple of jobs I had. And they won't have me working Mondays, which is their busiest day, because, of course, everyone who started feeling lousy over the weekend calls in first thing Monday morning trying to get a appointment. I know that's certainly been me before. In fact, that happened when I had my ear infection. Yeah, it wasn't bad enough to go to the ER, but it was certainly bad enough that I wanted to see the doctor as soon as I could. I had a little bit of hearing damage from that, very, very minor, when they tested my hearing. Oh dear. Okay, I'm back. That was really irritating because when I answered the phone, I ended up with a dial tone. So they interrupted me for nothing. Hate when that happens. Oh, well, what you gonna do? It was funny, I actually read the other day that Alexander Graham Bell wouldn't have a phone in his office because the ringing annoyed him. He came to hate his own creation, right? There was a scene in Downton Abbey when the Dowager Countess, they just had a phone installed and she's trying to use it and she's having difficulty, and finally she says, "Is this an instrument of communication or torture?" Oh. There's so many good Maggie Smith memes and GIFs. I really like the one of, "Do you promise?" she had, because it was when Mary's fiance, she broke it off and he was annoyed and he said, I am leaving. I doubt we will meet again." And she says, "Do you promise?" It was perfect. So I use that a lot. Yeah, "I'll never speak to you again. Do you promise?" Apparently, I read there's one last movie coming out. That was what I read, that there is another movie coming out, but I have been, from what I read online, they have said that it is going to be the last installment in the Downton Abbey world. Well, because by this point, life has changed a lot, because the whole series, I believe, started in the sinking of the Titanic, right? 1912, I think. So, and then it went through World War I, and I think by the time they ended, they were somewhere in the mid-20s. And the very last one was involved them making a doing filming at the manor, making a talkie, right? This was when filmmaking changed to include sound. And the female film star was having a really lot of trouble adjusting to it. And it was interesting. They showed how the camera had to actually be in a glass box because otherwise the sound of it rolling was too loud and it would be overpowering for the dialogue, because this was before they put things in with separate tracks like they do nowadays, of course. This was in the very early days of having audio in your film that wasn't just music being added later like the old silent films like Charlie Chaplin and stuff would have. It was funny because I saw a meme saying that they thought, oh, the name talkie is so ridiculous, until they said to themselves, well, the name movie isn't much. It's moving pictures, talking pictures. It's just, we're used to the term movie. Nobody really uses talkie now. It's kind of an antiquated term, so it does sound silly because we're not used to it. Once again, not hot here. We really have had a fairly cool summer. There's been a day or two, but I said I like this weather actually. It's very cheap for our power costs because we don't have to run the furnace and we don't have to really run the air conditioner, so it's just electricity. If it's a cooler day, like, then I will sometimes bake bread or something that day because kind of warm the house up a bit. And I don't bake, I look at the forecast, and if it's going to be a hot day, I wait and do my baking on a day that it's cooler, because why not? Just makes sense to do that. So I'm going to probably cut this off right about here. That is where a different color sort of flowers are coming in there, different ones. So I'm going to fill all this in. I will probably come up to the top again and fill in some more and that last little tip of a feather. And then I will figure out where I want to go from there. Yeah, when I reach where the colors change, I will often cut it off there so that I don't have as many live threads or needles going as once. Kind of makes it easier. Yeah, the alarm guy came by and swapped out the panel. Took a while because that meant he had to unhook all the sensors, rehook them to the new panel, that sort of thing. Took a while, but the only thing that annoyed my husband is the guy mounted it back on the wall. It is very slightly crooked by a couple of millimeters, but enough that he could see it and it annoys him. For a while, the horizontal hold on it died. And for a while, it was bouncing like crazy. And by the time he came, it wasn't bouncing anymore, but it was duplicated. And we were saying that you couldn't tell exactly where the numbers were, so it'd be too easy to enter in the wrong code when you're trying to disarm it. And it had been installed in like 2019, so he said that's pretty much, 5 years is about what you can expect from from it. So which is pretty much what I figured. Okay, so I have a couple stitches of this, or stitches, I meant to say threads of this in this area. Kind of branching out from each other. So that is why I like to use more than one. Some people don't, and that's totally fine. I see it all the time in groups I'm in. People say, should I do this? Should I do that? And it's like, you should do what works for you. Many people will have different ways of doing it, and they all work. As long as it works for you, it's your project. Okay. I'm going to see if I have a small piece here, which I think I do. Perfect. I think, actually, now that I look at it, I'm going to do that one first, which is this one right here. That way I can do both of these since they'll be attached on the one side, which is what I like to do. Two, three, four have been completed today. Just a little bit of this left over, but I will just save the pieces. So there's one down here. That's a fairly long piece. One up here. It's a little bit shorter. Okay, so what I'm going to do is these, and I'm going to park it over here to do that one lone stitch that's right there. If I can properly count, that is. I think this might be the end of one feather, and then it's turning into flowers. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes when you're really up close to it. Yeah, easier to tell when you step back and take the whole thing in at once. Talking about air conditioners earlier. My husband had fun. He said they kept getting messages that their transmitters were overheating and the air conditioners weren't working, so he went to check it out, and it turns out that the guys they hired to clean them out stuck the pressure washer in and just kind of washed it around. He said the problem is it bent all the baffles, so instead of them being open, they all ended up kind of overlapping each other like when you close blinds. And yeah, so of course the air conditioner could not keep the space cool because it couldn't actually blow any air out. Oh, and he said, yeah, the really fun thing about cleaning that out was he had to go along with like a little penknife on each baffle and open them up again. Because I remember him saying he thought it was just going to be go take the screens off, rinse them out, put them back and be done. And instead he had to pry each piece back in place, so it took days. It took hours, and then he said, yeah, they'd have to go back the next day and do some more. Oh, what a pain. Whoever was sent to clean that out did not know what they were doing. It's like, well, I washed the dust off. Good enough, right? Not if you've, rendered the thing no longer usable, no longer serving its purpose. They have that problem in the winter, and he said sometimes in the summer, the problem is mice will manage to get into the shed because it's just in a field somewhere, and they will climb into the transmitter because it's warm and sometimes get electrocuted and cause a short circuit. So sometimes instead of debugging, his job will be to demouse it. Poor things. He said, well, they wouldn't even know what hit them. It would happen so fast. But that is where the term debugging came from, was because the old light tubes in original electronics would shine, the vacuum tubes would shine bright lights, which would attract moths, who would then get zapped and die, and you literally had to pull them out, shake the bugs out of them. And the term stuck, even if, about removing bugs from your programming, even if they don't actually mean physical bugs anymore, the name stuck. It's funny how, I guess, the technology changes faster than the language. Language does change, but I think it takes more time for the vocabulary to catch up. Okay, so that goes there. Sometimes I will peek around to sort of see which ones I can do more than one stitch in a row of the same color. That kind of speed things up a little bit now that I don't stitch as strictly as I used to, even though I still try to not close in on all four sides. Those were all connected on at least one side. Oh, again, I will do those two there. Need to thread both strands through. There we go. That stitch was looking a little loose, so I knew it hadn't been tied off yet, so I just had to tighten it up there a little bit. Pretty soon it will be time to take this whole thing off the frame and show it to you all. I I do enjoy doing that. Those monthly progress pictures, really. They're very satisfying to see. Okay, so I did park this one here, and I think I'm just going to check if I remember how long it was. Make sure I'm grabbing the correct strand there. This one here, yeah, it's short. It's enough for 1 stitch, which is what I thought. I don't count on my memory very much anymore. It is not that good. It's too bad we can't choose what sticks and what doesn't. I really don't need to remember what someone said to me as an insult when I was in 2nd grade, but I would much rather remember where I left my car keys. That would be much more useful information. Unfortunately, my brain decides the former is more important to hang on to for some reason. There, so like I said, working to about there, and then I will probably go to the top. I'll assess then for sure what I want to do, as my plan often changes when I'm actually stitching it. So once I get closer to the edge, I will stop pin stitching because I don't want them to extend past the edge of the design. I'll start drawing them all across the back, but I usually start doing that about 10 stitches from the edge or so. It was funny, the alarm guy needed to use the Wi-Fi to get things hooked up again, because obviously the panel runs off our Wi-Fi. And so I gave him, and I said, our Wi-Fi is named NCC-1701. And I said, if you get the reference, then you're a nerd. He said, no, I do not. So it's Star Trek. Oh, okay. There was one we had named Hyrule, after, obviously, Legend of Zelda. There was one we had way back years ago. We called it Onion Knight, which was from Final Fantasy. It was a Final Fantasy X, and that was one of the character's legendary weapons. And it was so darn cute, little thing, yeah. It, when she cast big spells, she would drop it and it would make the little arm, crossing its arms above its head just like her. It was so cute. And it had a little sword and a shield. It was adorable. I've seen some funny ones. Somebody had Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Lan instead of Spider-Man. Somebody had Bill Y, the Science Fi. Some of the funny ones I've seen online. And then somebody else put Bill, Bill, Bill underneath. There was one that said, your music is annoying, but they used the wrong your, and so another person had your grammar is annoying with the correct your. My favorite, though, had to be, Mom, use this one, or Mom, click here for internet. Or the Promised LAN somebody had, because LAN, local area network. Although if it's internet, it's not really local area anymore, is it? Although I could be wrong. Like I've often said, I'm not the most technologically advanced person. So as you can see, this is not perfectly taught here. But I don't really care. It's good enough. It's harder to do when I get to the end, because sometimes I have the fabric shifted over enough that I can't clamp on the fourth side. I could, but I don't want to reach as far and hurt my back and neck and all that. Because yeah, things go out of alignment for me pretty easily, so I have to be careful. It has been good, though. I haven't had any real flare-ups since I finished my last round of acupuncture, which was in February, March, I think. It's been good. I go in sort of every 9 to 12 months, and they will do about 4 to 6 sessions, and then I'm good for another. Yeah, it's given me the best relief, I find. Okay, so a little bit more feather here. There's some, I believe, background and flowers between, and there's a little feather tip here. So I'm going to work on this one, and I'm going to start working towards that last bit of feather there, because after that, there are just two big squares of flowers left, and that is the edge of the design. Woohoo! To do those as well. That did not feel right. I kind of, yeah, overshot that. As you can see, the color changes here, which is why I have almost no threads parked there. That is why I like to follow the colors. All of this area here, there aren't really any pale colors, so I feel safe to pin stitch there. Okay, this is long enough. I will park it up and to the right there. Oh, darn it. Hate when it does that. There we go. Passing 300 soon. As I said, the colors change here, so a lot of these threads get ended off, and then I'll sort of attach a whole bunch of new ones that are different colors pretty soon. Sticking to sort of color groups like that kind of keeps, oop, that was no good. I sewed over it. Silly me. There we go. That's no good. Oh dear. kind of keeps me from getting too many threads at once so it doesn't get too tangled up. Set those aside for now. Right, I remember this one is only long enough for a single stitch. So this is where I think I'm going to stop. I'm going to go back to the top and start working my way down again. It's like I caught an end there. Yeah. All right, so that is where I'm going to leave those. Just going to see if any of these still have needles on. If they do, sometimes I'll sort of stitch another stitch and park it before I unthread it. I will come back to the top and carry on. a little too hard and unthreaded my needle. I hate when I do that. So you can see if you look at the pattern, the last tip of that feather's there, and I can see that on the mock-up too. So there was a little bit here, and then the last bit's there, yeah, and then his tail is done, at least for what is in this pass. I did not think I would get his tail feathers completed this month, but I pretty much have. I always like when I underestimate how much progress I will make. Nice little bonus. A little bit of a knot trying to form in there. Working tray is almost all purples now. And pinks. think I'll probably reach 80% by the end of August. That will be exciting. Doesn't actually seem like that long ago that I passed 50%, even though it has been a few months, obviously. Need a new long strand. So I think I'll stitch to about 350. That'll be 150 that I did with all you. Because I did 200 before I started filming. Try that again. I do that stitch there, that will put me at exactly 350. There we go. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you here next time. Thanks, everyone. Bye.